Find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Memento mori, an object serving as a warning or reminder of death. Death is inevitable, but how it happens can be tragically unfair. It can be dark, cruel, hateful, or just plain bizarre. I'm Megan, and I'll be your guide through these stories of chaos and devastation. Come listen as we dive into all types of true crime cases and learn about the evil that lurks among us, as well as the victims that deserved none of it. Join me every Monday for a missing person mini-sode, and every Thursday for a regular episode. You can go to mementomoripod.com for more information. Monsters are real, and they look like people.
Hey, Twisted listeners, I'm Cindy.
And I'm Diva.
This is Twisted Listers, a podcast about murder
and lists.
We're brought to you by the Podmoth Podcasting Network. They're amazing. Check out the other podcasts. We had some new ones join us, so you'll hear those ads.
Nice.
Yeah, a couple new ones came in, so we're going to cycle those ads through. This is part 2 of Cases Solved by Psychics.
Yes.
Woo! And Diva and I were just saying that these cases are a little shorter, so this might be like a shorter episode this week.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Next week will be beefier. But this week is a little bit of a break for everyone. And maybe we can interject a little more today.
Short and spooky break. We can get all our extra thoughts on spookiness, spooky psychic stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Great.
I'm happy.
And greetings from miserable, hot Los Angeles. My walk to my office today felt like the surface of the sun. And I was like, oh, is this what the apocalypse will feel like as we all slowly roast to death? And I was having a lot of really fun thoughts as I walked.
I mean,
today.
The answer is yes, because I believe it is upon us. I mean, honestly, like I can't remember a heat wave like this, even in Los Angeles in recent years.
It's very hot.
Like, it's insane. My AC, I was telling Diva, my air conditioner is on full blast all day, and it's 85 in my house because it just cannot keep up with the sun just mercilessly beating down. And like, it's insane.
I'm lucky I have AC, so I can't complain, but like, anytime I leave my house, I'm like, oh no. Well,
what I do when I start feeling like whiny and sorry for myself is I just walk outside and then I walk back in my house and I'm like, my house is so cool.
So much better. Yeah.
20 degrees is a big difference. So,
oh yeah.
Anyway, but it's pretty gnarly. So if you're near us, I hope you're staying cool. If you're in other parts of the country, I hope you are doing okay in your various natural disasters that are taking place.
Yes.
So, capitalism. Woo!
Yeah.
Speaking of which, if you would like to support us financially,
yeah, good segue.
You can join our Patreon. Which, Diva, can we record the Patreon? I'm ready.
Yes, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Great.
Let's do it.
I'm so sorry to our patrons who are so patiently waiting for us to upload a new one. There's been travel, there's been work stuff. We just haven't had time, but we're gonna do that. I swear to God, this week. If you'd like to join us, it's patreon.com/twistedlisters. There's other stuff on there as well, so it's not like you get nothing, but we need to get back on that, back on the horse. If you would like to join us on TikTok, which we rarely update because I think we got shadow banned. It's just at Twisted Listers. Yeah, who cares? I still go on there and comment on other people's shit and talk trash under our name, which is probably super professional.
Perfect.
Yeah, really good.
That's the brand. That's your brand.
Yeah, it is the brand. Anyway, it's just at Twisted Listers. If you'd like to send us an email with case suggestions, which we are still getting through all of them, keep them coming. You can do that at
twistedlisterspod@gmail.com.
If you'd like to join us on Instagram, you can do that at
twistedlisterspcast.
And if you'd like to check out our website, you can do that at
twistedlisterspod.com.
Amazing.
All right. And also, I want to wrap that up by saying that my cat is doing something she only does when it's hot, which is lay her whole body on the kitchen tile.
Oh,
it's really cute.
Yeah, all the squirrels. So the squirrels in my front yard, they're like laying out on the grass as flat as they possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
I found a bird bath on the side of the road.
Oh.
So of course I took it and I brought it to my house. and I filled it with water and I set it at the base of my tree, like the
Squirrel
top of
bath.
it. Yeah. And they like lay under it for shade and then like drink the water, and it's the cutest thing ever.
Squirrel hydration. Yeah, animals know that when it's hot, you got to get flat.
Yep, get flat. Get as much surface on the ground because the ground is cool, unless it's in the sun, and then it will burn your skin off. So anyway, all right. Who goes first?
All right. You.
Oh my God! One other thing. I know that American Psycho was written by Bret Easton Ellis, not Chuck Palahniuk. I had fucking Fight Club in my head when we were talking about it. I've been meaning to correct myself for like seriously episodes. Embarrassing. I've read both of those books. I know I don't like Chuck Palahniuk or whatever his name is. I don't really like his writing. Bret Easton Ellis is a fucking genius. I feel terrible that I mixed them up. Okay.
I watched American Psycho after that reference too. I sat down and watched it. It was great.
Oh, Christian Bale is so good. Like,
so
honestly,
good. Yeah.
Fuck, dude.
Incredible.
Yeah, really good movie based on the book. Much better than Less Than Zero.
It's also an amazing satire of like shallow corporate like bullshit.
Yeah. It's fucking fantastic. And also Huey Lewis in the news.
When the business cards are like eggshell white, like that just like cracks me up.
Yes. Oh my God. It's so good. Yeah. If you guys haven't read that book, you should. It just like skewers American culture, and it's amazing. Like corporate culture. It's amazing. Okay. Anyway, now that that's out of the way. Hi, Kay. Now she's the one who called me out. I was like, fuck. All right. Amie Hoffman. This is what I'm doing. This is the case of Amie Hoffman, and it takes place in 1982 in New Jersey. Great. It's actually November 23rd, 1982, 2 days before Thanksgiving. 18-year-old cheerleader and high school student Amie Hoffman leaves her job at the mall in Hanover Township, New Jersey, to go home and hang out with her parents. She had been working with her friend Christine, who had needed a ride home, but Amie was not able to give her one because she was hurrying home so that her mom could give her a perm.
Okay.
Her mom was actually going to perm her hair, which
is very cute.
It's so 80s. This is 82, remember? So that's the thing, right? Diva just told me that my mic is bouncing, so I'm going to fix it. Okay. Anyway, so she was last seen walking towards her car by two other mall employees around 9:30 p.m. She never arrived home.
Oh my gosh.
Her mother, worried, drove down to the mall to look for Amie and found her car in the lot with the keys in the ignition and her sweater inside. So as if she had been at her car and then somehow was no longer there.
Was not at the car.
Okay. Not at the car. It was as though she just vanished. There was no sign of a struggle, like no blood, no nothing, just no Amie.
Okay.
So her mom called the police, and they met her down there with a tracking dog who traced the scent, Amie's scent, to 2 car spaces over, so 2 parking spots over, where it seemingly disappeared. So sounds like maybe she got put in a different car and drove away.
Yeah.
2 days later, her body was found floating in a water tank in a nearby reservoir.
Ooh, that's spooky.
Yes. I read from the court documents the details of her murder. Holy fuck. So I'm going to just go over a little bit of it.
Okay.
She had been stabbed multiple times, including twice in the chest, which likely led to her bleeding to death. There was a pool of blood around the tank where she was found, as well as pieces of her hair, which had been cut off, which is, just super fucking creepy.
Disturbing.
Yes. The 2 stab wounds in her chest were super gnarly. One was about 4.5 inches deep, and the other was closer to 7. And the 7-inch one punctured her lung and her spinal cord because it went so far through her. And here's the grossest thing. They said that the 2 wounds, while they were separate, they were, like the way it happened indicated that the knife was not pulled out, but rather just shifted and pushed farther in.
Oh, okay. So that's a gruesome detail that made
Yeah. She also had one of her ears cut off and had multiple stabs and cuts to her face.
Ugh.
So this attack was super brutal and was meant to cause pain as well as kill her. Mm-hmm. She had also been raped and likely sodomized. So
Jesus,
fucking insane.
Just a lot of torture, a lot of stuff.
A lot of bad stuff.
Take in there. Okay.
Yeah. So obviously Amie's parents are completely fucking destroyed. She and her mother were extremely close. They had even spent the last couple of days together because Amie had had cramps and had stayed home from school. And it said all she basically did was hang out with her mom. Yeah. And so the town's horrified. It's just really fucking bad. So police spring into action. They're just really trying to solve this case. They're trying to reassure the public that everything's okay. But they didn't, I mean, they had witnesses, but they just couldn't find a suspect. There was no, I mean, it's 1982. DNA is not a thing, really. They have evidence, but they have to match it to something to be able to find somebody, right? Like,
Yeah.
So a detective who was peripherally associated with the case named Jim Moore was desperate for information. So he reached out to a local psychic, Nancy Weber, for help. This is, like I said, despite multiple witnesses coming forward, they had a description of the man and his car, which was a green Chevy. These people had seen the car at the mall, a kid saw it near the water tank, like all over the fucking place, and had described it and the man inside very well. And each description was accurate with the others. So they all described the man as having like a sharp nose, having like kind of ratty features. Like he looked like kind of like a rodent, which is kind of disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so police were able to piece together that she'd been attacked as she was getting into her car. And like I said, they had these descriptions, but it just didn't really lead to anything. So this detective, Jim, is like, let's just fucking try anything. Let's ask Nancy, right? So first, she said to the cops, the media is lying about Amie. They're saying that she wasn't sexually assaulted and that she was wearing clothing when she was found and had no visible wounds on her body. And she's like, both of these things are a lie. Amie was brutally attacked and she was raped. And the cops were like, this is true, but we didn't tell anybody.
Ooh,
So,
okay. Psychic credentials presented.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy also told the police that Amie had been attacked by a man whose first name was James, who had served time, quote, in the South, had a Polish last name, and whose brother owned a gas station in the area.
Okay, so a lot of good info.
Yeah, you would think based on this information, they could go out and get the guy, right?
Yeah.
So the captain, along with another officer, Bill Hughes, went to the DA and was like, hey, can we use this to start searching certain things? I think they were trying to use the information to get like search warrants for certain people or to get, whatever. The DA would not even allow them in his office. He was not having it. He's like, I want nothing to do with this fucking psychic. This is bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, on December 5th, so what is that, like 12 days later or something?
Mm-hmm.
Another woman, 25-year-old Deirdre O'Brien, was attacked in the middle of the night, just about 2 weeks after Amie's murder. Yeah. She was raped and stabbed repeatedly. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
But managed to escape her attacker. She flagged down a trucker who picked her up, and she was able to describe her attacker before bleeding to death in the trucker's arms while they waited for help.
Oh, man. I thought that was going to go a good way, but
sadly, no.
Okay.
So also very fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Once again, police are stumped. Amie's family is desperate for answers. The community is freaked out. More people came forward, both from who saw this attack and more of Amie's coworkers. We saw the man giving more descriptions, doing whatever they can to like help, right? So she had actually been walking with another friend just before the abduction, which had to be super scary for that friend because like that could have easily been her. Like the crazy thing is when you read about it, like there were like 5 or 6 like young girls the same age as her all walking to their cars at that time.
Oh my
and
gosh.
2 of them saw the man in the green car drive by them. And like 30 seconds later, they saw Amie walking to her car. And then he abducted her. So like,
and it's so random too. They were all there like as well. So it's just like scary, random shit.
Really fucking scary. So nobody will listen to Nancy. The 2 cops who did weren't having any luck finding that man based on the information, which I want to come back to. Okay. Nancy was upset, but she was like, there's nothing I can do. I told you what I thought. I told you what I know, and you're not going to listen. So she didn't go to the police. They came to her, right?
Right.
But she decides, I need to do something about this. So she gets a lot of college students from around the area who are into like Wicca and believe in spirits, and she has them do a prayer circle. So they all get together to do a prayer circle, and they basically pray that this man who's now attacked 2 women at least to stop, to come forward, basically to make himself known, to do something so that he can be stopped.
Yeah.
They did this in early January, going on 6 weeks after Amie's murder and, 4 after Deirdre's. And just another couple weeks after this circle, with Nancy continuing to pray daily, suddenly a man came forward. And this man said that he'd been attacked by another man while driving down the highway. And this is significant because Deirdre, the second known victim, had been run off the road by the man who then attacked her. Yeah. And this is how so many people were able to come forward with the description, because he just did this brazen fucking shit like out in the open, right?
Yeah.
So it was at night, but still, he got seen. So at first, when police are talking to this man, they're like, oh, he's another victim. Like, he managed to get away. He had a stab wound in his back. And he got home safely to his mother's house where he lived. And his mom was like patching him up when the cops came over. But after a while, they were like, hold on, this is kind of weird. So they go to his house and there's a green Chevy in the driveway. Yeah. And this is a ratty looking motherfucker, right? So they're like,
yeah,
he's got the car that matches the description. He's got the face that matches the description. And so, they start questioning him, and he admits, oh yeah, I did time in Florida for murder.
Time in the South.
In the South. Upon further investigation, they take photos of his wounds and they have people look at him. And one, like, I don't know if it's a forensic scientist or the type of person who determines wounds, maybe a medical examiner, says, those are self-inflicted. Like that shows like hesitation marks around it. Like that person stabbed themselves in the back. They also found that the tire tread on his car matched that of the tires found at the murder scene for Deirdre O'Brien.
Oh my gosh.
It took 3 days for people to arrest this man, whose name was James Kodatich, which is a Polish last name, for the murder of Deirdre O'Brien. It wasn't until December of that same year, 1983, that he was charged with Amie's murder. So who is James Kodatich? Kodatich? I don't know. Anyway, who cares? He was an American man of Polish descent who'd lived most of his life in New Jersey, but had moved to Florida for a time in his adulthood. While down there, he murdered his roommate. I don't have the details as to why. But it seemed like robbery was also involved, perhaps.
Okay.
And he was given a whopping 10 years for this. While serving his time, he killed another prisoner. But it was ruled self-defense, so he got no extra time.
Oh, okay.
So by the time he's out in New Jersey murdering young women, he's already killed 2 people. On the record, we know he did it. It's not like maybe. Yeah. Oof. In 1982, he was released, and that same year murdered both Amie and Deirdre after returning home to live with his mother in New Jersey.
Wow.
Yeah. And although police likely would have eventually found him, he sped that up considerably by inserting himself into the investigation for seemingly no reason. So you have to ask, why did he do that? Was it Nancy? Did her prayer draw him out? And if so, why did it take so long?
And why did he present himself as a victim? Was he trying to like throw the trail off of him as the perpetrator? Because it did the opposite.
I mean, I think he just wanted to be involved, like serial killers do that. Like that's not a unique thing where they like play with fire, kind of like they think they're smarter than everybody. So like, oh, I'll just pretend to be a victim so I can be involved and like get more information and like enjoy, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, or maybe it's like a way to like definitively take him off the suspect list.
I mean, maybe.
But I just did the opposite.
Yeah, but I mean, there is a lot of instances where serial killers do like insert themselves or tell too much. They give too many details, or murderers even. So I don't know. I don't know what the point was, but it backfired horrifically, which is great. I should say spectacularly.
Yes.
So my question, though, is if Nancy had given such good information, why wasn't it used to find him more quickly? Like even just having his first name.
Great question. Yeah.
The last name starting with a K and ending in an ick sound. And which I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but she did also say like it ends in an ick. And having a brother owning a gas station plus being like on parole.
So he did have a brother that owned a gas station.
Yeah, he did. I forgot to tell you. He did have a brother that owned a gas station.
So it's like check.
Yeah. And I actually think that he was like abducting people from around there or would take them there. Somehow it was involved, but only like peripherally, so it wasn't like a big deal. But here's the thing. If she had given them all of that information, like she said she did, all they would have had to do was fucking look him up. It would have taken 10 minutes and they would have found him, right? So in fact, I read an article by this guy who like is a skeptic and like for basically for fun or for a living, who knows, he tears apart like psychics stories,
Boo,
right? I know. But what he did was he took the information that she claims that she gave the police and he found himself a phone book from 1982 from that area in New Jersey, and he found the murderer in like 10 seconds. He found his family. He traced that his brother owned a gas station, and then he found James.
Okay, but just because it's in a phone book doesn't mean she'd be able to pull that one thing out of a phone book. Like that doesn't make any sense.
No, what I'm saying is that if she had given the police, okay, first name James, last name,
I'm dumb. Okay,
yeah, mind. Like he's on parole, so you can just find criminals.
They could have easily figured it out.
They could have easily figured out who it was. So I mean, but also we are talking about the cops, so like they are far less capable than your average person, and definitely less capable than like investigative journalists, which is what this person was.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to say one way or another, but basically, like Nancy and these two cops say, you know, she did give them a ton of information that would have led to James and his arrest if the DA had allowed them to use it. But others say, you know, she went back and kind of practiced confirmation bias, where after the fact, she changed her story. Like, for instance, she later said in her book that she told the police that he had served time in Florida. But both of the cops, both of the detectives are like, she said in the South. So
it's still right, but
it's still right. But what I'm saying is like she's taking the vagaries and making them more specific. Whereas I think what really happened was probably far more vague and may have still been close. But I don't think it's as close as what she wrote in the book, which you know she wrote and published and put out there to make some money. So
of course.
I'm just feeling skeptical. But I don't know. This one did a lot less to convince me than the first case I did. The first case that I did, I'm like, holy fuck, like I might be a believer. And then I read this and I'm like, you know. And she even admits like her information didn't directly crack the case, but she says it was still good information. And again,
she wasn't wrong.
He did not go to the police. The police came to her. So that is very important to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like a psychic cracking the case, but it is a psychic being correct.
Yeah, she was.
You know, and they could have cracked the case if the cops had done their job.
Exactly.
In a way.
Or maybe. We'll see. I don't know. In any case, most of the cops out there are like, no, this was good old fashioned police work. This was this guy, you know, slipping up and us catching him. But whatever. Anyway, to finish out the story, I did want to talk about what happened to this piece of shit, James here. Mm-hmm. He was actually given the death penalty, but later appealed and had it changed to life with parole after a very, very, very long time. His conviction was based on fibers and hair evidence and not DNA.
Those are always tricky.
Yeah, so they had semen DNA collected, but there's no way to like prove that it, back then it was like, oh, it matches on these really broad levels, you know?
Right.
So they also found like stuffing from his car's like seats underneath, like in her boot tread, and some of her hair in his car, and some of his car's like the whatever the interior like on her body. So there was a ton of stuff that like, yeah, it might have been kind of common, but what are the chances, you know?
Yeah.
Plus with all the witnesses, people actually like said, yeah, that's the guy, definitely saw him. That's the car, definitely saw the car. There was no blood in her car. There was no, you know, the attack definitely took place kind of where she was found. So that's why I think when he when he appealed it, he got the death penalty reduced, because they're like, there's enough doubt that like the death penalty is kind of harsh.
That's the least they can do.
Yeah, but I mean, he's murdered 2 people prior to this. Like, he's obviously a fucking murderer.
Yeah, he really likes murdering.
Yeah. But he's now, which is insane to me, reached out to the Innocence Project to ask them to test the DNA, because he says the DNA from her rape kit would like exonerate him. And I'm like, I highly fucking doubt that.
I mean, they might as well test it.
It's money. It's money.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. But anyway, whatever happened, however it took place, he's in jail for a very long time. And in fact, his first eligibility for parole will be in 2038 when he is 90 years old. So
Oof.
good luck to him reaching that milestone.
It sucks.
I wish.
I mean, it sucks. Not for this guy, but it sucks just in general. How our, jail.
Yes, but I wish this man all the worst. So
Yeah. That's fair.
I mean, he did it. There's no way he didn't.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like everybody's like, oh, the green car with the rat face dude. Yeah, it's that guy.
I mean, there is an argument to be made, just to play like a constant believer here, which I am, like, that it is really weird and irrational that he came forward and did that whole like I was attacked bit. So maybe like there was some psychic energy put out there that like forced him to do something dumb.
I mean, Nancy certainly thinks so.
She was working on it.
So yeah, and her prayer circle probably would say that was their doing. Who am I to say no? Who am I? I don't fucking know. I can barely fucking get through a day. I can't.
Let's do a prayer circle to make ourselves more rich. Let's work on that.
Let's make a prayer circle to make everyone more rich, except for people who are already rich, and they can become more poor.
We need like some green candles and like some
equity prayer.
Hex the billionaire's prayer. Yeah.
Yes, that sounds amazing. We
should be working on that. Okay.
Join us, guys. Okay. Anyway, so what's your case?
So my second case is it's a horrible murder, but there's some fun parts. This is Ashley Howley. It happened in 2004 in Livonia, Michigan.
Okay.
I looked through every source. It's a kind of bare bones case, and I could not find anything about Ashley like that much personally. She was 20 years old, and I hate that the only thing I found is that she worked as a quote unquote exotic dancer, which like, of course, no shame on that profession at all. I'm not saying it's terrible, but I hate that that's like the only thing people throw out, and that they're like, that's it.
Yeah, that's fucking annoying. I really don't. Okay,
but sure. She went missing after she had called 911 earlier the same day that she went missing to report that her trash bag boyfriend, Robert McMichael, had physically assaulted her.
Okay.
So right away, this is not going to be a mystery here. She was apparently planning, and I'm not sure if we know this from a friend or from where, but she was planning to go to a friend's house because she had just been hit, assaulted.
Yeah.
And she just basically never made it to that friend's house.
Okay.
About a month later, which I'm like, what?
Why did it take so fucking long?
Yeah, she went missing from that day, but her mom officially reported her missing a month later. And around the same time that her mom reported her missing, her car was found in a parking lot, just like randomly.
Okay.
So after this, Ashley just stays missing, and her case goes pretty cold. Boop, 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 boop. Here's our psychic. Our psychic is Christy Robinette. She had been a psychic professionally since 2000 as her job. She is a 9-to-5 psychic.
Wow.
Yeah. And she had done all kinds of psychic stuff, but this was the first time she ever was involved with a case. And she would go on after this to do more cases. This is her breakout case. Christy said that one night out of the fucking blue, she's in Livonia, but, same locale, but she said she was awoken by Ashley's ghost. She didn't know it was Ashley at the time, but the visage of Ashley. And she shook her awake, like, get the fuck up, psychic.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And basically, she was calling upon her to solve the case. She would visit her often. So she had like multiple visions of Ashley like this. And I'm not sure if Ashley like specifically saying shit or if it's just like the vibes. But this gray, translucent Ashley is like, Christy, solve my fucking case.
Right.
Please. So she's like, who is this that's visiting me? She goes through missing persons cases online and just kind of browses. And she comes upon Ashley's picture and she's like, oh, that's bingo. That's her.
Who it is. That's who shook me awake.
Yep, there she is. So she goes to police right away with no prior like in-depth knowledge of the case, just having her picture and that she's missing. And she said, this is exactly what she was wearing when she visited me. And it happened to be exactly what she was wearing when she went missing.
And that wasn't public knowledge?
Not that I don't think so.
Wow. Okay. All right.
So at one point, she's drawn to a particular park, but it's not quite the right area. So she's kind of trying out some spots. She's like, meh, not this park, not this spot. But she keeps getting visited by Ashley's spirit, who seems to be kind of like, I don't know, if this is true, it's very sad. But this is how I think of ghosts a lot, actually. Is like, she says that Ashley's kind of processing the fact that she's dead. She's kind of like mourning her own death.
Oh, okay.
And kind of like, well, that fucking sucked that I was murdered, right? Like she's sort of like processing it.
Right.
She also described her ghost not just as sad, but also vengeful.
Nice. That's my style.
Yeah. And if you were a ghost, you'd be that kind of ghost for sure.
Fuck yeah.
And she said she's telling Christy here over and over again that she specifically wants her then boyfriend / ex-boyfriend, motherfucking Robert, to serve time for her murder. So she identifies Robert and she's like, fuck this guy. And I love that. I just love the vision of Ashley being like, Christy, you're going to put Robert in the slammer. Like,
yeah. Like it's this motherfucker. Make it happen.
Please. Yeah. So she keeps working on it and thinking on it. And she then identifies a new site, which is some kind of property. I'm not sure if it's a house, but a property very close by a house where coincidentally, Robert had lived with his dad off and on. So it's a place he has a kind of a connection to.
Okay.
And she goes there together with Ashley's family. And Christy Robinette, our psychic, is like, holy shit, the vibes are right. Like, this is it. This is the spot where you're going to find Ashley. Like, all her psychic spidey senses are tingling, right?
Okay.
However, they can't dig because it is private property, and whoever owns that property says, nah.
I'm not going to let you dig up my property based on some fucking psychic.
Yes. Correct.
I kind of feel that. I gotta say.
Yeah. I don't care if you think there's a body there. No, thank you. So, boop, boop, boop. A couple years go by. No digging happens. Christy just has to go home and say like, well, fuck. Okay. In December 2007, Robert McMichael, who's then 26, murders his mom and her boyfriend.
Holy fuck. Okay.
Just like your last guy, he also can't stop murdering.
Yeah, he can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah. He's arrested and charged the following year for these crimes, for these murders. Also, I couldn't find too much about those murders other than after killing them, he just basically leaves like a smorgasbord of evidence everywhere. He gets tons of blood all over the house. He's like just blood everywhere. He also tries to pawn stuff of theirs. So he's not like great at murdering.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy he didn't get caught the first time considering.
It is. Yeah. And I couldn't really find what changes here, but he is after these murders charged with Ashley's murder all of a sudden.
Okay.
So I don't know why.
Evidence?
I don't know why. It's like, well, you're getting charged with murder and we'll just throw this other one on too.
Yeah, how about this too? I'd like to think maybe they'd been working on it and just got it all together at that
I could
time.
be missing some information in these reports easily, but from the reports, they made it sound like, well, boop, 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 just throw on this case. But for whatever reason, it's good. Obviously, they charge him with Ashley's murder as well as robbery charges and abuse of a corpse, which is interesting considering they hadn't found her body when they charged him with that. But anyway, or maybe that's a later charge. But anyway, they resumed the search for her body, and in April 2008, after interestingly they charge him, they find Ashley's body in a shallow grave encased in cement in the exact fucking spot that Christy had been like right there. Dudes.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, so she did direct them to the spot and they officially found her body. And they also the reason they found her body this time is that because they weren't listening to Christy. And I guess maybe someone's letting them dig, or maybe they have a warrant, right? Maybe they have more reason. But they find it thanks to Robert's friend Garrett, who actually helped him dispose of her body. So he's part of this shit too. He did part of the encasing and the whatever the fuck. Yeah. Okay. And Robert or Garrett, the friend, died of a drug overdose a couple of weeks later after giving this information. So he was like, he probably felt fucking bad.
Pretty fucking bad. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And was going through some shit. Anyway, but needless to say, he tipped them off to that spot and they were like, oh, that's the exact spot Christy told us to search, coincidentally.
Okay.
Fucking Robert McMichael, our big asshole here, he ends up pleading guilty to all 3 murders in order to avoid the death penalty. Right. And he gets life without parole. Apparently in all the trial hearings and whatnot, he never showed any emotion or remorse the whole time. Then the sentencing, the judge basically is like, you've never showed any fucking remorse. You're a psychopath. What the fuck, essentially.
Yeah, good day, sir. Enjoy prison.
Good day, come on. His dad, Robert McMichael's dad, gave like a weirdly sad, not weird, but a sad statement saying that he hoped prison would change his son for the better, which no.
Probably, first of all, it's absolutely definitely not going to.
Yes.
I mean, even people who turn their lives around are irreparably damaged from the prison system.
And And anyone who does turn their life around and do good in prison, it's on them. It's not like prison's not doing it, you know?
Yeah, no. And like this guy's a psychopath. Like the prison system isn't going to get him like the mental health care that he would potentially need to. Like, can you even unpsycho a psycho? Like, is that possible? Like, no. I feel like that's just you're broken. There's just something broken. There's a puzzle piece missing. I don't know.
I think with some of these psychics, there can be a vibe. So that's the kind of the case. But just one last note about Christy Robinette, the psychic. And there can be kind of like a thing. Okay, I shouldn't say this. Never mind. I'll say this off camera. But I was going to think of a famous movie director, but I realized I shouldn't. But there's a thing sometimes where like someone gets famous off of one thing and then they kind of become cheesy about their shit, you know, afterwards because one. So anyway, so some of these psychics, I feel like they like get famous off of one big case that maybe it was legit. Like in this case, I kind of feel like it was legit, but then they become hokey. Right. And they become like, oh shit, I can be a celebrity psychic now. Because, you know, there's lots of amateur low-key psychics that legit or not, but there's lots of amateur ones that want to make it big, right?
Yeah.
Just like any other industry. So I think this is kind of like what happens. But anyway, I have to include this because this is kind of like a womp moment, like kind of putting a wet blanket on how like spooky and believable this was for me. Here's a quote from Christy later on the missing Malaysian airliner, which by the way, I won't go into the whole thing, but it like wrecked my entire life. It's probably the reason I'm afraid of flying. Yeah, it's the airliner Malaysia 370 that disappeared in 2013, and I know all about it. She said, quote, I talk to those who are dead, so if I don't sense anyone deceased, that is actually a positive thing. I don't think the plane is in the ocean. I think it's on an island somewhere.
What, she thinks they're like playing out Lost? Like everybody survived and they're just like hanging out with like fucking
she's like, none of them are dead. They're all on the island playing out Lost. Yeah. First of all, it's definitely in the ocean.
Yeah. 100%.
It's definitely in the ocean.
Yeah.
It might be in many parts.
Yeah,
it might be like disintegrated in little bits, but all those bits are in the ocean.
No, they're all in the ocean, and that's a ridiculous assertion that they're not because there's not like an island that we don't know about that it might have landed on. Like we know where all the land is.
If it wasn't on any kind of land, we would have found it.
Yeah,
and also the fact that I don't know if she said that before or after this, but they found chunks of it in like the ocean. Yeah. So
weird. Yeah. I wonder how she would. Maybe she's like, they're really happy on the island, so they threw the plane parts in the ocean to throw you off the track.
As much as my terror of flying wants to believe this, Christy, that they're all on the island, I know that they're not. Like,
no.
Anyway, just a little. I had to include that because that's something I'm deeply obsessed with, and to my anxiety's great detriment.
Yeah, that's a gnarly fucking case. I'm glad they found some pieces though, because at least that's kind of closure.
And closure to the bullshit theories, you know?
Yeah. They fell in the ocean, everybody died, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Oy. Well, this was a good topic. It was a little quicker, which is kind of nice. Okay. You guys don't have to sit and listen to us.
It's a light week.
Yeah, as long. But what are we doing next week, Diva?
My transition was going to be next week is not going to be light, neither in content nor length.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. No, it's not.
I want to redo a topic we did in Halloween 2020, which the episode has long since been down, and we're much better researchers, as we've talked about whenever we redo things.
Yes.
Satanic ritual murders. And like, not just satanic, but like occult ritual more broadly, but satanic can be part of it. Yeah. But like, we talk about satanic panic, you know, a lot. And like, I really find these cases fascinating where it's like, oh, here's something you can actually panic about, people, you know? Like,
these people actually said they were satanic and they were doing this for Satan. So
because satanic panic gets slapped on like any goth teen, but it's like, no, these guys are walking the walk. Like they're doing the terrifying ritual murder. Yeah.
Yeah. And shout out to Ricky Queso, who I can't do his or Casso, I don't know. The Acid King. I already did it for this the first time, and then I redid it for another one.
For The Devil Made
You Do It. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm just obsessed with that fucking case. It's such a weird, like that guy, like there aren't people like that. Like he's like a particular breed of fucking wild and out.
Truly.
Crazy. I mean, he's 17. Anyway, so I won't be doing that one, but you know, shout out to him. So couldn't do this list without you, Ricky.
There's a lot of occult ritual murders, so we have a lot of rich material.
Yep.
And we're just going to get spookier and spookier as the time goes on. I currently have a lot of anxiety that I don't have enough Halloween lights up in my house. I got to buy some more this weekend.
We're waiting until this weekend after it rains and cools down 20 degrees, and then everything goes up. So
that's solid. Yeah, that'll be Saturday. So
good plan. So
yeah. Perfect.
Anyway, all right. Well, thanks guys for listening. Once again, please join us on Patreon and TikTok and all the other places. Like, rate, review. That's really, really helpful.
Yes, please.
We do get 1-star reviews from I don't know, fucking conservatives, fucking homophobes, capitalists. I don't know.
Rude people.
Rude people. They don't leave anything. They just give us shitty reviews because they don't have anything to say. Because if they said anything, they'd have to just be like, "Well, I'm a piece of shit, and therefore I don't like this podcast." If you think we're annoying or you don't like the sound of our voice and you think we do shitty research, feel free to fucking write that and give us a shitty review. But
no.
I mean, don't. But obviously, that's a way more valid than what's going on. So anyway, it's really not bad. Our reviews are pretty good. Yeah, we have good overall.
They're fine.
But if you guys want to add to that, we would love you for it. So anyway, that's my rant. Most of you have probably already turned this off. But for those of you who haven't, we will see you next week. And until then,
stay
off our... Have them.